Hello, welcome. This is the yoga class for first trimester, fatigue and nausea. I'm Ren. Thank you for joining me. Please have your water nearby. Please forgive the horrible lighting and very apparent microphone. I'm doing my best with the space that I have at the moment. Mm. So, you're feeling nauseated, perhaps. You're definitely feeling fatigued. It's all good. We're not going to move a whole lot, but we are going to still accomplish something, if that makes sense. You'll see. Stick with me. So you don't have to have anything special. You don't need to have a bolster. You don't need to have blocks. Just have yourself and whatever space is around you. If you have a wall to lean up against as you sit, then lean up against the wall. You can maybe put a blanket or a pillow behind you for comfort. If you're sitting on the floor, you can lean up against your couch. If you have bolsters and all the yoga accoutrement, go for it. Just get comfortable. That's my only request. Whatever your day, week, month, year, whatever has brought you, just let it go. This next 25, 30 minutes or so, there's no space for anything but your nourishment. Whatever those thoughts are, whatever those things are in your life, they'll still be there waiting for you. Just set them down. They're not yours to carry right now. Like a heavy grocery bag. Oh, just let it go. And we're just going to breathe for a few moments through the nose. If you're feeling nauseated, sometimes we have that impulse to breathe through the mouth, but through the nose is a quicker way to relieve nausea. More effective, I should say. And an inhale focused breath. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're taking bigger or longer or stronger inhales through the nose than exhales, but just that focus. And if it does help to elongate the inhale, play with that for a little bit. And you can choose to have a soft downward gaze or close your eyes. And dedicate this time to yourself, to allowing yourself to be open to the experience of a new kind of yoga practice. Pregnancy will absolutely bring change to your yoga practice. And rather than resisting that change, let us allow our body and mind to open. And then drop the chin towards the chest and a soft, gentle roll of one ear toward one shoulder. It doesn't matter which way you choose to go first. And then just pause there. Encourage that shoulder to relax down away from the ear and the jaw to relax. And any gripping that you feel in the body, perhaps in the chest or the rib cage or the belly or the hips, hands, feet, corners of the eyes. And then let the chin roll back through center, pause, and head towards the other shoulder. And see if we can embrace this experience of slowing down. And if you're thinking to yourself, I'm so fatigued, I'm so slowed down already, lean into it even more. Stop trying to fight against it. And then chin towards the chest, pause, and slowly lift the head. Go ahead and come away from whatever it is that you're leaning against. Just scoot forward slightly. Take the hands behind you. The fingertips don't have to go straight back, maybe at like 45-degree angle. Walk the feet out wider than your hips and let your knees fall side to side. Soft bend into the elbows. You don't want to lock those back. During pregnancy, you have this surge of a hormone called relaxin. Perhaps you may have heard of it. Perhaps you may not have. Either way, it is. It serves a purpose during pregnancy. It allows the body, the bony structures of the body, to grow and expand and make room for the baby. And it assists with the birthing process. But it can lend to injury, like majorly. And so when we have an established yoga practice or exercise, physical practice of any kind, during pregnancy is sometimes difficult to deal with the changes that come. And people often get injuries to the joints. So we just need to be aware of that. Be more focused on stability as opposed to flexibility. And we'll come back to that concept quite a bit. But for now, we can kind of just leave it at don't push yourself too hard. Don't try to stretch too much. All right, then you can even those movements out and then let the soles of the feet come together, knees out wide. Sometimes it's really nice, especially in a restorative sequence like this, to give some support to the knees, maybe a pillow or if you happen to have blocks. And let the heels be further away from your pelvis than they usually would be in this shape. And you can take a little rock here if that feels good, or just be still. And with our breath here, we're going to start to engage some awareness of the pelvic floor muscles. So we've probably all heard of a Kegel, and I would say at least 50% of us misunderstand what it is. So it is not a clenching of the pelvic floor or the pelvic muscles. You often hear people say, stop the flow of urine. That's what you're going for. It's not really. So what we want to focus on, you can imagine the floor of your pelvis kind of like a bowl or a hammock of muscles. And they attach to the bony prominences of your pubic bone, your sacrum, your tailbone, and then your sitting bones, which are called your ischial tuberosities. And when you inhale, you can feel the relaxation, almost a gentle bowing downward of those muscles and a spreading. And then as you exhale, you can feel them start to gather together and lift up. So they spread and then narrow and lower and lift. So you want to feel that engagement of the pelvic floor as a lifting, not a clenching. So see if we can find that here. If you can't quite engage with it, if that's not something that you're well versed with, that's okay. We're going to try it in a few different shapes. It'll eventually hit you and you'll be like, got it. And it's a practice, just like anything else in yoga. And then start to make your way to all fours. If you're experiencing any trouble with the wrists, you can always put your hands up on blocks or pillows or something like that. It can take some of the pressure off. We're not going to be here for terribly long, but if you already have wrist issues, perhaps it would be just long enough. And you can always bring them just slightly forward so it's not so much of an angle here. So you may know what works for you already, and I haven't said it, and you can let me know in the comments or just think it to yourself. Take your knees just slightly wider than your hips distance. And then we're going to have a sort of just a soft, gentle gaze towards the top of the mat or whatever space. If you're not using a mat, then maybe 2 feet or so in front of your fingertips. And we'll start with some cat-cow motions, but just with the low back and pelvis. Keep that head steady. And you may feel as though your head is in the clouds, the brain fog of early pregnancy. I have news for you. I have a 1-year-old and it hasn't really gone away yet, but I think the reason it's there, it's just changed. But pregnancy brain is a real thing and it's not your IQ lowering or anything like that. It's just an extreme fatigue because your body is unbelievably busy internally doing stuff, making a baby. That was what I always said. Leave me alone. I'm growing a human. If you're not feeling super nauseated and you want to take the rest of the spine and the torso into this cat-cow motion, you go right ahead. And this is also a good shape to try that engagement of the pelvic floor muscles. So as the belly softens towards the floor and you draw air in, that pelvic floor will relax, and then exhale, the spine rounds up towards the ceiling, the tail tucks between the legs, and the pelvic floor lifts and narrows. I have many hilarious and ridiculous pregnancy brain stories I'm sure I'll use as little anecdotes throughout our classes. I usually just couldn't spell stuff. I remember one time I was writing in my journal and I wrote the word from with an E at the end. And I was like staring at it for like 10 minutes. I'm like, I could not figure it out. I literally couldn't figure it out. And I eventually decided it shouldn't go there. And I think I was right. All right, let's go ahead and tuck the toes under and sit back towards your heels. You can come up onto fingertips, give the wrists a little break. If you want to go for it and sit all the way back into broken toe pose, be my guest. But again, be aware, we don't want to do anything that is dangerous to the body. So if you feel pain, then back off. If you feel sensation, then perhaps just kind of take some deep breaths here. And then slide those hands back forward. All fours. So our last little moment here in all fours, and our only moment of effort in this class, hopefully. So take an inhale. And then as you exhale, draw your abdominals in and up. And through that abdominal engagement, lift one knee. The lifting of the knee comes because of the effort in the abdomen. And then inhale and set it down. And then exhale, draw the abs in and up and lift the other knee. You don't even have to lift that foot if you don't want to. I'm not. And inhale, set it down. Now tuck your toes back under if they're not still. And then inhale. And exhale, lift both knees. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Set them down. Bring your toes to touch the mat. You can tap them down a little bit. Bring them closer together and your knees a little wider. And then sit back towards some version of a child's pose. It doesn't have to look any specific way. If you're feeling nauseated, it can be nice to have the head higher than the level of the heart. So if you have a block or an Amazon box or books, pillows, whatever, and just bring the forehead down onto whatever that surface is. If you're not using any of that, you want to stack your hands and then place your forehead down onto the backs of your hands. So whatever surface your forehead has landed on, just start to rock your head side to side to sort of massage that space above and between your eyebrows. And just imagine this as yourself shaking your head no to whatever those expectations you have for yourself are, or anyone else. Just say no thank you. No thank you. I say that when my 1-year-old hands me something gross. No thank you. This is another really good shape to attempt to engage that pelvic floor. So just try it on for a few breaths. That may be your aha moment. And again, coming back to the concept of relaxing throughout pregnancy, as I said, your yoga practice is going to change. We're going to focus so much more on stability than flexibility. So this hormone, as I said, is going to lend, possibly, potentially, hopefully not, lend to injury, or at least potential for injury. And so in our next few classes, you'll start to see how that plays out with the way we approach certain shapes. For now, in the early stages, probably too tired to do any of that fancy stuff anyway. So go ahead and come forward. Just sway those hips from side to side or do a couple little circles. And make your way to a seat. And your mat, if you're using a yoga mat, can face any direction, whatever is easiest for you to see the screen and hear me. So come to any kind of cross-legged seat. Sit up tall, evenly on your sitting bones. Perhaps you liked that vocabulary word of the day. Evenly on your ischial tuberosities. And then go ahead and take a twist in either direction. Doesn't matter which way you choose first. And very easy twist, very gentle. You don't even have to bring the neck into it. And as you're twisting your torso, start to take the breath deep and full. And notice where you might feel some resistance in the body against that breath, some tightness, some pushing back, maybe in the rib cage somewhere, or abdomen or shoulders. If you notice something like that, then just imagine that space as opening up the same way you are opening up your body to make room for life, opening up your mind to make room for change. And then take that twist back to center, pause for a breath, and head over to the other direction. And I think pregnancy is a really great time to start to treat yourself with the gentleness or the softness that you would a young child. We don't have these same expectations, this harshness sometimes for ourselves. We don't need to have that. Talk to yourself as if you would to your baby. Lovingly, in a nurturing way. And then come on out of that twist and extend one leg out to the side, like at a 45-degree angle or so. And you can either just kind of slide right over or square your torso towards the toes and then lean forward. We just want to go for a gentle stretch in the back of your leg. Again, being mindful not to let the knee press downward. If you already have sensitivity in your knees, this is a great shape to maybe roll up a towel or just put some kind of support underneath. Also, if you get tightness up here in the hip, which later in pregnancy, anytime we're in this shape for later classes, there's always going to be something under there. Whichever version of this shape you have chosen, go ahead and flex the foot back. Imagine as if you were going to touch your toenails to your shin and your pinky toe to your outer hip. So that pulling back and almost an angling of the foot. And then start to lean back and place your opposite hand out to the side and swing this leg around and top of the foot or toenails down. And then we'll just gently press that hip forward. We're going for a bit of a stretch in the quad here. And if you want to, you can take a little motion with this. If you'd rather be still and just focus on a gentle stretch, again, we don't want intensity in stretches anymore. No more. And then go ahead and swing that leg around and we'll switch sides. Extend the opposite leg and take your hamstring stretch on this side. The fatigue that we experience in that first trimester is profound, and it's not something that you can just push through. And my pregnancy began just days before the pandemic. And we were in that long stay at home order, and I did not leave my couch for 48 days. I just could not move. I was so fatigued and nauseated. Go ahead and lean back into that quad stretch. And I tell you this to let you know that it's okay. And it does go away. And I can spell from again. Okay. Go ahead and swing that leg back around. Both legs out in front. Make enough space for yourself to lie back. And down we go. Ah, the best part of the day, right? I say it's called going horizontal. When my son naps in the afternoon, I have like mandatory horizontal time. Draw the knees in toward the chest. You can have a gentle little rock side to side if that feels okay, or just be still and give yourself a hug. And then we'll take a supine figure four. So hook one ankle over the opposite knee to make that figure four shape in the legs and hug that shape towards you. You can hang on to whatever you got to hang on to. But again, to protect your outer knee of the knee that is bent, of the leg that's being stretched, flex those toenails back towards the shin and the pinky toe as if it were going to come up and touch that outer hip. And you can take motion with this in and out or side to side, or you can have it be still. And then place both feet down. Walk your feet out wide. Let your knees fall together. And place your hands on your abdomen just for a breath or two. It's just kind of a nice shape. And then we'll take it to the other side. And if your thoughts are starting to think ahead to what is coming next for you after this class, or even thinking back to replaying some events that have already happened, see if you can allow yourself to just be here a little bit longer. We have one more shape after this. And like I said, your life will be there waiting for you. You just set it down. Both feet to the mat. If you want to come into a happy baby or a modified happy baby, you can grab behind the knees, flex the feet, bring the legs wide of the torso, or the knees wide of the torso, I should say. If you want to go ahead and reach for the ankles or the outer edges of the feet, whatever is available, again, no expectations. You can take motion with this or stillness, extending one leg and then the other. Whatever last little movements, maybe some ankle rolls. And then let the toes touch down, heels touch down, let the legs slide. Start to elongate in your space. If you're lying on the floor, on your bed, on your couch where you've spent the last 48 days, whatever kind of final shape you would like to take. This is your Shavasana. So continue to lie here still. If it feels okay to shut the eyes, you have the invitation to do that. You have permission to do whatever nourishes you. And bring your awareness back to your breath and back to yourself. And you have permission to do that whenever you need to. You have permission to slow down, to let go, to be open. And you have permission to take this Shavasana for as long as you would like. And if you want to just drift into sleep for the night, that is okay. And I'll leave you with the following thought. See if you can draw to mind one thing about yourself for which you feel grateful. And hold that thought close to your heart. And take a deep breath in through your nose and out. You may stay here as long as you like. This video will end, but you have permission to lie still.